SmartShare Housing's Homeshare Slow program has, since 2017, assisted hundreds of clients and thousands of community members in considering the homeshare process and whether it makes sense for them. To date, Homeshare Slow clients have received direct cash benefits of roughly $2.5 million, along with companionship, security, and enhanced ability to age in place. Welcome to SmartShare Housing Solutions, where we work to create housing solutions by connecting people and homes. I'm Vicki, the Deputy Director, and my co-host and guest today is Anne, our Executive Director. Anne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
In our first video in this series on how to home share, we discussed what home sharing is and why someone might want to enter into a home sharing arrangement and why they might not want to. And this time we're going to talk about some of the everyday specifics of home sharing. There is a spectrum of home sharing between the price that someone would pay to rent a room and how much work they would do for the provider or the homeowner. And in some situations, the renter would just pay their rent every month with your utilities that they've agreed upon, and the homeowner take care of all maintenance. And at the other end of that spectrum, the homeowner needs more from their renter. And it could be anything from more tours to taking people shopping, driving in doctor's appointments, cooking, being there at certain hours to be available, or helping with getting dressed or getting out of bed. And with the more that someone would do for the homeowner or the provider, the less they would pay in rent. So there's that kind of consideration. And there's a similar kind of continuum in privacy.
And there's a misconception that people who are going to share their home have to share everything or that they have to be really social people. It's really completely up to the home provider to decide which items in the home will be shared, which portions of the home will be shared, and kind of what the expectation or interest there is in being social. So, what part of lives are shared? And just like within every relationship, setting boundaries and being clear is really important.
So if I am a more private person, say, and I want to share my home, what can I do to maintain my privacy?
We've come up with 10 tips to help people maintain privacy. And so first, let's look at some options for home layout and possible modifications that can enhance privacy before posting a share. And so first of all is the entry. There are a lot of times where an entry can be made separate. Maybe a house already has two doors, and there's a way to ensure that the share space is accessed through a door separate. Sometimes it can relatively easily be installed where an existing window is. If installing an exterior door is difficult, an option is thinking about how entry can be made through some place that's not in the middle of a common space. Next, considering cooking area. Not wanting to share the kitchen is among the most frequent reasons we hear that people wouldn't be willing to share their homes. A fair number of Americans don't cook that much, and their version of cooking may be relegated to heating things up in a microwave. And so a kitchenette can be created out of a relatively small space with some plug-in 110 electric appliances. A number of appliances can be purchased and create a functional kitchenette for under $1,000. And if there's adequate electrical supply, can be done in a lot of places. It's also important to think about bedrooms. It's really helpful if the layout minimizes adjoining walls, ideally with bedrooms kind of on far ends of the home. And that can make a big difference then in feeling of privacy. And then along with that, there are some options to minimize sound. You can add soundboard products like rock wool and add some layers to minimize sound carry through.
Yeah, and I guess when you really can't stop the sound, then you have to wear your earbuds.
So that's the other option, kind of the more simple one. And so that doesn't have to cost too much. Outdoor patio areas that are private can add a lot of value at really low cost. A small, easy to maintain private patio area adds high value to small living spaces. And then along with that is eye level privacy screens. There may be some windows that may face out on a shared garden area. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean the whole window has to be shaded. Some screening then just at that kind of 4 to 6 foot level can
Hmm.
mean people can't see in, but still light and contrast can come in.
Yeah.
And one way to accomplish that is bottom up, top down blinds.
Yeah.
And there are a number of other beautiful metal garden screens and lattice with vines and
Hmm.
quick growing trees that can be used for eye level screening.
And so
And
I'm assuming that these solutions will work on a case by case basis.
very much the case with those physical changes. Let's look at just a few quick tips to maintain privacy and communications. And one of these is eye contact. A lot of small home sharers have a system. Eye contact introduces sort of conversation, and no
Mhm.
eye contact means I'm not there with you. And another one would be to set times to have regular check-ins. Doing this can avoid problems on the spot by creating sort of a safe, designated time to discuss items before they flare into serious problems. And along with that sort of set times is a set communication format because it's not always so easy these days when we have so many tools and options.
Yeah.
And so understanding those styles in advance can really avoid a lot of problems. And then along with that, considering whether you want to share your mailbox and internet with others or insist that housemates receive mail at a P.O. box or some other place, or that they get their own internet account or a separate internet access password. Other important components as you're thinking about your share will be furnishings. Will your space be furnished or unfurnished? We have a number of clients who have items they want to keep. So leaving their spaces furnished can be key. At the same time, we find people wanting homes have their own items. So that's important to think about and whether there's some flexibility there or whether you're set one way or another. Another important component is storage. Will there be garage space made available, bathroom space, yard space, and tied in with that kind of kitchen area space?
One thing that I've noticed is a lot of people have a hall bathroom that mostly isn't used unless they have company. So if they're home sharing with somebody, that hall bathroom would be mostly private, but not completely.
And then parking is also an important one. Thinking about whether you would share your garage for parking or a driveway, or whether it would be street parking, are important to consider. And along with that, parking for bikes and
Yeah.
scooters, if there's space outside or in a garage, or whether people would need to bring those into their living spaces. Laundry is another one. Whether you'll provide access to laundry, you may or may not, or there may be some separate laundry for people. And along with that, kind of any rules or requirements for laundry, such as time of use, if it makes a lot of noise or shakes the house.
Yeah.
Soap, if you have chemical sensitivities or if your laundry water is gray watering, you might need bio soap. And
Mm-hmm.
what items would be shared or not shared, whether you'd want to share soap or not, and what spaces will be private for each party. In a general sort of description of that, it's not essential to share all parts of the home, and it's
Right.
completely reasonable to say no shared use of the garage or a
Mm-hmm.
private office or
Mm-hmm.
some other spaces of the home. Those may mean just a little less desirability of the share or a
Yeah.
little less rent,
Yeah.
but it's all possible.
Yeah. And one of the main things that we run into is that people have pets, and pet compatibility is huge.
It's important to think about what pets will be accepted, what kind of pets you don't want, being open to considering certain types, but also understanding what you don't want to waste people's time on. And
And it's the
pets,
same way with guests too, right? Yeah.
that's right, exactly. If I'm thinking of sharing my home, It is within my purview to limit who my housemates would bring into our shared spaces. You may accept housemates, but not any guests, or want some limits on who they could bring into your home.
When you've thought through all this and taken this inventory of your space and made some decisions about what you're willing to live with and what situation you want to have, the next step would be listing it, right?
That's right. We've discussed the kind of nuts and bolts of getting the home together. That next video discusses what you need to provide information and marketing to get people you want to share your home with to you. And we'll
Yeah.
also share tips for how to take useful photos and to consider where to list with so many options out there and security concerns. So
Yeah.
look for that in the next video in the series.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. For more information on home sharing, visit our website, smartsharehousingsolutions.org, or email us at info@smartsharehousingsolutions.org. We'll see you later.
Thanks for joining us.